Welcome to the Black Mirror Podcast.
Join host Ho-Ho as he discusses the riveting Netflix original series,
Black Mirror. Now, here he is, Ho-Ho-Ho.
Broadcasting from the Cottage Studio, welcome to Black Mirror Podcast, and as always, I'm your host, Ho-Ho. So how y'all's doing? I hope you're doing good. I really do, because today we are on episode 2 of season 6, titled Loch Henry. Oh yeah. Now this one I was a definite fan of. I really was for a few different reasons. You know, one, it was more of a suspense thriller kind of a thing. And it had, a few different filming styles in there. You had the regular filming style that, we've come to love and appreciate with Black Mirror. And we also had the documentary film style, which I do enjoy. I like a good documentary. And then it slid into a found footage type of a show. And, I'm a fan of found footage things. I really am. I like found footage films very much so, because, it's one of those things that, for an indie film producer, it's something that you can do without spending a lot of money on, gear, camera equipment and whatnot. You can do, with a, a handful of friends, $1,000 to $1,200 worth of gear, prosthetics, latex, DIY, homemade, fake blood, a great idea, a really good writer, and an amazing filmographer. You can do a really, really good found footage film. It's not going to break the bank, and you can make quite a bit of money, especially just, doing, streaming services or what have you, or, subscription-based kind of thing using Patreon or locals. You can do a pretty decent job, make some money on that, and you don't have to spend a whole heck of a lot. That's one thing I think that's really cool about doing, found footage films. It's really intriguing to me. I like the aspect of it. Maybe one day I'll do my own. I don't know. I have no idea. I do got some documentary stuff that I'm wanting to do, and have some ideas that a buddy of mine and I have been working on for doing a found footage type of a thing. But whether it'll actually ever see the light of day, who knows? But that's one of the reasons why I really did enjoy this film. So this episode starts off with a couple, a guy by the name of Davis in college, and his, a friend that's in his same class, filmography, I guess. Her name is Pia. And, that they are going on a road trip to, they're going to do a project for their film school. Okay. That's what they're doing. They're in college. Okay. And, along the way, they stop off at Davis's mom's house, and we meet Janet for the first time. And, you in that opening. Oh, yeah. And by the way, before I go any further, and I'm sorry it took me this long to get here, but spoiler alert, we are going to be talking about the episode. We really are, man. Spoiler alert. Y'all know how this works. So, we meet Janet, Davis's mom, and, there's some things kind of immediately that we find out, and some things that give me pause. Now, because it's more of a suspense thriller type of an episode, there are certain things that you expect out of them, and, a little bit less of a, oh, I didn't see that coming. Because, let's face it, whenever it comes to the genre, there's certain things that we expect to happen, and we look at it, and when things don't quite look right, it's a little more noticeable because it's such a well-known type of a genre, certain rules that just play. And I'm not just talking about the movies Scream, But there is. I mean, there's a certain level of expectation that comes along with it. And this one was no different. So, although in a matter of speaking, there was a little bit fewer surprises, and it didn't take us as long to figure out what was going on, there was still that, oh, okay, well, I knew something was up. I kind of had it figured out, but they took it in a direction that I really wasn't expecting. I don't know about you, but, you know, some of it was a surprise, but others of it wasn't. So early off in that first sequence where they're at the house and, you know, we meet Janet, Davis's mom, you know, there's a couple things that we find out. You know, we find out that, you know, Davis's dad is no longer in the picture. He was a police officer that died. We don't know how just yet, but we know that he died. And there was something that I noticed pretty early off that gave me reason for pause. Like, oh, that's not right. Okay. Whenever we go to the shelf that has all of those recorded VHS tapes that just has the Bergerac word on it, you know, the name of the miniseries that all of them were. And there was like 15 or so of these VHS cassette tapes. And I'm like, oh, there's something off about that. There's a story behind those, or, you know, better yet, those cassette tapes, those VHS tapes has a story to tell. Because I don't know about you, but, you know, when you're talking cassette, you know, VHS cassette tapes that you are recording yourself, you know, you never just put the series name on it and that's it. Especially whenever you're talking so many stinking ones that just say the same thing. Bergerac, there was something wrong there. And I picked up on it immediately. I don't know about you, but I picked up on that immediately. I'm like, there's something off about that. You know, because you're going to have more information on there so you know what is on the tape. You know, you're going to have episode numbers. You're going to have season numbers. There's things in there that you're going to put. You're not just going to put the name of the series and leave it at that, especially whenever you have 15 VHS tapes or so, I'm guessing on the amount, that all say the same thing. There's something going on there. You know, I picked up on that right immediately. You know, and of course we learn whenever they are outside the door at Davis's mom's house, you know, there's that, oh, okay, so they're doing a documentary type of a thing. Okay, and I got excited about that, again, because I like documentaries. I like watching documentaries, learning about things. You know, I very much of a fan of the genre. I like learning things. Documentaries, to me, are fascinating. You know, it really is. It's fascinating. I'm like, oh, cool, okay, so I like where this is going. I'm liking this. And then that night, when they're up in the room and Pia sees and notices that camera, I'm like, oh, okay. Now we're talking found footage type of a thing. All right, let's see if they actually play into this. Let's see what happens. And then, you know, I don't remember if it was that day, you know, that first day, or if it was the second day that they were there. But Davis takes Pia to the loch. And it's gorgeous out there. I mean, it really is. You know, I mean, it's the thing that landscape pictures come from, you know, and they talk about that. You know, and one of the other things that they talk about, at least Pia talks about, it's like, dude, this area is gorgeous. This area is beautiful. You know, but why is there no tourism? Why is there nothing going on, you know? And it's like, you can tell by Davis's reaction to this that there's a story behind this. And he is intimately aware of it. And you can just tell this by his reaction to it. You know, it's just, you can tell that he's distraught about it, that it affected him in his life personally. You can tell this. It's like, okay. And then, and I'm pretty sure this was day 2. Davis takes Pia over to the only bar that's left in town. I guess, there were originally 3 and now down to just 1. And we come to find out why. The dark secret behind this nice little town that should be, by all intents and purposes, just like a hot spot for tourism. And it's not. What's the dirty little secret? Well, it's the story of, and I'm going to probably mispronounce this name, but Ian Adair, a serial killer whom his father, Davis's father, was directly involved with taking down, with bringing him to justice and finding the gruesome dungeon in the basement of his parents' house, which just so happened to also be where a double murder suicide took place. And so, Pia decided that she really wanted to do a documentary based off of that, the serial killer Ian Adair. She's like, dude, here's the house. Let's tell this story. Maybe we can, bring some tourism back to this town. Maybe we can tell the story of, your father and, how he was, the last victim of the serial killer whom shot his father. Now, granted, he didn't die of those wounds. He died from complications while being at the hospital and getting sick and dying that way. I mean, it was a indirect death caused by the serial killer. And it's like, dude, let's tell the story. Let's get this out. Let's do this. We have a really good idea here. Let's do it. And he's very like, I don't want to do it. He did not want to do it whatsoever. It hits a little bit too close to him. It's a childhood scar that hasn't quite healed with him. And not just because of his own situation, but with his mother, because she had never been the same since, so he's like, no, I don't, I don't want to do that. Well, she talks him into it, but not just her, because, that night going to the bar, talking with Stuart, which is Davis's friend, the son of the owner of the bar, it's like, oh, well, you really should do that. You really should do the documentary on this serial killer, and who knows, maybe doing this story can bring some tourism back to town and we can save the town, because, that's where Stuart's, that was his motivation behind doing this. They all have different motivations in this. Pia wants to tell an awesome story because, the story they were originally going to do was kind of blah, kind of bland. It really wasn't going to go anywhere. It wasn't going to give them, what Pia was wanting, that 15 minutes of fame, if you will. It wasn't going to go anywhere, and she kind of knew that. It was kind of boring, and it just wasn't going to go anywhere. But this was something that really has that potential, if done right, to really go somewhere, and she had that visionary aspect about it. She can see it without seeing it yet. It's like, this is a good story. We can do this. It'll be awesome and amazing. And Stuart, his motivation was simple. He wanted to bring tourism back to the town. He wanted to save the town and, in essence, save the bar, save the business that his dad had built. And so, Stuart's mom, whom passed away 4 years before, the goings-ons of the episode, she apparently followed the news on this story with Ian Adair. Followed it, okay, and had a bunch of stuff, newspaper clippings, pictures, different information of that nature. And it was around this same time frame too that we find out that Stewart's dad, the owner of the bar, he really was not keen on what was going on. He didn't want them doing this documentary. He really didn't. Okay. Now, following logic on this, okay, there was some things, or at least I guess you could say, following the normal trends of the genre that we're talking about here, with a murder mystery, suspense thriller, found footage kind of a thing. Okay, I automatically had suspicions about what's going on. Okay. Because of all those Bergerac tapes, the TV series that apparently Davis's dad was really into, and his mom as well was really, really into. Those, to me, had a story to tell. There was something off about all those cassette tapes sitting there. And this being roughly, 14 years after the fact, because, Davis is in college. Davis's dad died whenever he was, I believe, 8. And so all this took place, went down when Davis was, 7-ish years old. So we're talking a good 14, 15 years since the fact. And with Stewart's dad, the owner of the bar, with how he was, destroyed, just defeated. He was a drunk. And how he was angry and upset about them doing this documentary on this. My suspicion was he was involved. My suspicion was that he was, a co-conspirator in this whole thing, that Ian didn't act alone, and that somehow Janet was involved, Davis's wife, because of all those cassettes being there. She was, in fact, a fan of this series, Bergerac, and I'm like, she's got to be involved in this somehow, because those tapes are very suspicious to me. And what if Davis's dad was collateral damage? Somebody that found out too much and they had to deal with it. Tie up loose ends, if you will. And that's where my mind went. Okay, that's where my mind went. I'm like, this is, there's things going on. This makes sense. That fits the pattern of the genre of what we would normally expect with this. I wonder just how right I really am. So they're talking with somebody about their new direction for the film, going from what they were going to do to doing this documentary, and offering something new, something that, a part of the story that hasn't been told before, something that they could offer that went beyond what is already known. Do you have access to the house? Oh, absolutely. So the trio, Davis, Pia, and Stewart, they break into the house, Ian Adair's house, and they go to the location where they know the dungeon of death is, in the basement of the house. And they go in there, and, their thought process was, this isn't going to be all that bad. We need to make this look a lot worse than what it really is. And Stewart, for some odd reason, kind of knew how to make that happen. By putting lemon juice on surfaces and it being blacklight reactive, and it will look, pretty nice. So they put some lemon juice down, and then they turn the lights out. They turn the black lights on, and oh, holy crap. Because they didn't need to use the lemon juice, because that basement under a black light lit up like a Christmas tree. There was that much remnants of biological material down there, blood, that there was no need to doctor anything. So they're in the space, they're in the area where the whole thing takes place, and it's like, wow, this is kind of creepy. This is kind of creepy. On the way back home to Davis's mom's house, they get into an accident. They're at the hospital. The only one really injured was Davis. He was the one that was driving. Stewart was okay. Pia was okay. But, Davis had a neck brace on, and he was going to be staying overnight for, observation. He had a concussion, so they were like, we're going to keep you overnight for observation, make sure nothing's wrong. And, no big deal. It's just precaution. You're fine, but, we want to keep you under observation just in case. And for some reason, and I don't remember what that reason was, but Stewart's dad was there, the owner of the bar. And, he's mean mugging, or at least paying a lot of attention to Davis and Stewart and Pia. And after Stewart, Pia, and Janet leave, Davis is all by himself. And there's some cutting back and forth going on, because whenever Janet gets Pia back to her house, she's going to be making the shepherd's pie, a nice dinner for them. And, Pia retreats to the upstairs where they were staying at, Davis's room. And she's like, I got some stuff that I need to go over. I need to digitize some of these cassette tapes. I need to do this, and work on this. So, let me know when supper's ready, and I'll be up here doing this. And she's going through and digitizing the cassette tapes because, they use the same camera that her dad had, or that Davis's dad have, in order to do the documentary. That's the camera they decide that they're going to use. And apparently they ran out of VHS tapes, and, well, they popped in one of the Bergerac tapes and recorded over it. Oh, no big deal. Mom will never know. So she's digitizing this cassette tape. And then it cuts back over to, now I might have some of my, factoids in here a little off, but, we got two things going on simultaneously. We got Pia digitizing the VHS tapes, and we have Davis alone at the hospital, laying in the bed, and he's perusing his, he's got a cell phone. He's looking through social media, and Stewart's dad gets out of the bed and walks over to where Davis is. He sits down on the bed, and he's like, you need to stop what you're doing. You need to quit. Because there's something about Ian Adair that just never quite sat right with me. And roughly at that time, in the process of Pia digitizing the VHS tape, the part that they record is done. And now you've got the ending to, whatever episode was on that Bergerac tape. And I'm probably not pronouncing that right either. It doesn't matter. And then next thing you know, the end of the episode. And now you've got a home recording at the end of that. And who's in the camera frame other than Ian Adair? What's he doing there? This is Janet's VHS tape. What's going on here? Oh, holy crap. There's there's Davis's dad. You mean he was involved in this? And then they talk about, because you have the missing couple that was there. The story that brought all of this to light and started the ball rolling on all of this. You see that couple in the dungeon of death at Ian Adair's house. And then the camera pans over, and then you have Janet coming in through the door, Davis's mom. Oh, holy crap. This wasn't just one person whom was a serial killer. This was a trio of them. And although I was right on my assumptions to a point with Davis's mom being involved, I mean, of course, she's the one, who was a fan of this TV series that there's like 15 VHS tapes on there. But, I was wrong in my assessment on Stewart's dad's involvement and with Davis's dad, his involvement, because I was wrong on that. I didn't think he was a co-conspirator in this. I thought he was collateral damage. I thought he was, just a loose end that had to be tied up. I thought that Stewart's dad was involved, not that he really had some deep-rooted suspicions that he never could prove. And that's why he didn't want them to do this documentary. I was wrong on that. I was definitely surprised on it. I really was, I mean, there was like not entirely surprised, I'm used to the genre, man. I'm used to some of the curveballs they like to throw at you, but they definitely went a direction that, although good, surprised me a little bit. I was like, oh, this went a little bit deeper than what I thought it did. A little different of a direction. And then they went and surprised me more. Because, well, now Pia knows the truth. Pia knows that Davis's mom, or wait, hold on, I misspoke. Pia now knows that Ian Adair didn't act alone. That both Davis's mom and dad were directly involved in this. So she now is terrified, and rightfully so. And then wouldn't you have it, Janet walks through the door. Hey, supper's ready. Now quickly, Pia shuts the computer screen down, shuts that puppy down. There you go. Okay. But Pia can't play poker. Let's just put it that way. She can't play poker. And I mean, come on. I don't blame her. Would you be any different? You just found out something that horrifying. Being in a house all alone, basically a nobody to Janet. She didn't know, Janet didn't know Pia. Davis wasn't there. It was the two of them alone. She can do whatever she wanted to Pia, and nobody would be the wiser. Oh, I don't know what happened. She just left. Took her stuff. She's gone. I don't know. She got upset about something. I have no idea. And why wouldn't they believe her? Pia wasn't part of that town, wasn't part of that community. She was a stranger to everybody. The only three people that knew her, really, was Davis, Janet, and Stewart. The only people that really had contact with her. Other than that, no. She could come up with any story she wanted to and get away scot-free. So Pia obviously is, and rightfully so. She's terrified now. She knows that she is in danger. You in danger, Molly? You in danger, girl? It's like, holy crap. And then they threw the loop in there because Janet's now suspicious because, Pia has a horrible poker face. Pia ends up leaving, walking down the road, trying to get cell phone service so she can call Davis and tell him what she just found out. Janet is suspicious of Pia's sudden change in her mood, character, demeanor, the whole 9 yards. She gets this, looking upstairs. I wonder what was going on. She goes into Davis's room, and at this point, the VCR, just finishes rewinding the cassette tape that Pia was digitizing. And it ejects the VHS tape, and lo and behold, she sees what is written on the label, Bergerac. And Davis's mom knows full well what's on that tape. And knows that Pia knows. She's got to do something about it. Hops into the car, drives down the road, but Pia is smart enough and she gets away from her. Unfortunately, in the process of getting away from Janet, she slips, she falls down, tragic accident, and she dies. But Janet, not knowing Pia's demise, thinks that Pia got away and knows now that the truth will come out. And so she goes back to the house. She takes every one of the Bergerac VHSs. She stacks them all up. She writes on a note, along with other memorabilia and trophies that she had kept over the years. And for your film, Mom. The only thing written, the only explanation given, and then she hangs herself. Davis, of course, now finds the truth, finds out the truth. Pia's dead. Davis's dad was not the hero that he had grown up thinking that he was. His mom was not the woman he thought she was. His whole life now is flipped upside down. Holy crap. An ideal of who you are, your own identity it's been destroyed. Everything you thought was true is now nothing. And he feels now as though his entire childhood, everything, his very identity was based off of a lie. Wow. He wins the film award and all is right in the world. Tourism comes back to Loch. Yeah. Just an awesome episode. Awesome episode. So a few questions here. Let's get right into this portion of it. So how do you feel about found footage? How do you feel about found footage films? Are you a fan? You like them? You don't like them? How many have you seen? Which one is your favorite? I'll tell you mine if you tell me yours. And honestly, I'm a huge fan of the Hell House LLC series. There's 3 of them right now. You take the last 20 minutes out of the third one, and you've got like the perfect found footage series right there. Loved it, really did. But I got to be honest with you though. I hear they're making a part 4, and I'm curious. Can't wait to see that one. I hope I got the right one. But I heard they were doing a part 4. I'm hoping I got my facts right on that one, because I am a definite fan of the Hell House LLC series 1, 2, 3. Awesome shows. So you a fan of found footage? If so, what's your favorite? I'm curious now. What's your favorite? And do you think that would be something you would like to do? You know, not your own found footage, although, you know, hey, if you would like to do that, let me know on that one too. Why not? Let's throw that one in there too. But as far as doing some type of a documentary thing, because that's the thing, man. You know, a camera is easy to come by. I mean, come on, you know, your cell phone takes good pictures, amazing videos. I mean, it wouldn't take a whole heck of a lot to create some awesome content. And we all live in places. We all know things about our own hometown or area that we live, or our own block or something. Every town has an Elm Street. Every town has horror stories, has a history, whether it be dark, whether it be inspiring, whether it be whatever. We all know people or have people in our families that have an amazing story to tell. Would that be something that you would like to do? A passion, if you will, that you would like to pursue? Let me know. I'm curious on that. You know, do you have a hero in your family? A dark history, maybe, that nobody would like the light to be shined onto? I mean, I doubt you'll let me know on that one, but hey, please do. You know, let me know in the comments. Let me know over at blackmirrorpodcast.com, or send me an email. Let me know. I'm curious. Let me know in the discussion board when I finally get season 6, episode 2 put up there. How would you feel if everything you thought about your childhood, your growing up, you know, a person in your family that, you know, had previously been a hero, for the whole thing to come crashing down, and for you to realize that everything was a lie? You know, has that ever happened to you? How did you take it? Is that something that you think you would be able to handle very well? I personally don't think so. I don't think I would handle something like that very well at all. You know, just the shock, especially coming from somebody whom, you know, not even out of college yet. I mean, he's not even made his own way in the real world, if you will. I mean, me, I'm in my mid-40s. I've, you know, lived a life outside of childhood and college into adulthood. So, I mean, for me, it wouldn't be as near of a life and identity crisis as it had to have been for Davis. I mean, dude, could you imagine something like that? I mean, man, I can't even imagine what that had to have done to his psyche. I mean, and you can just tell by how the episode ended, and how, you know, Davis was just kind of just there through the whole end of the show, and that his world had completely been destroyed. I mean, I don't think I would handle it any better. I really don't. You know, wow. So that is really all I have for you today. I'm still working on the Black Mirror podcast website. For the most part, it's done. The home screen is finished. And definitely head on over to blackmirrorpodcast.com. Scroll on down towards the bottom of the page, and you'll see the subscribe. So this way you can get the monthly or whenever newsletter. Anytime relevant news, I hear anything about Black Mirror, I can let y'all know on that one. And of course, there is the episodes and more. You can see the videos. You can listen to the podcast right there on that page. And then join the discussion boards. head on over to that forum page. Check out those, go to your, your favorite season. Let me know what your favorite episode was. Click on the discussion for your favorite episode. Respond to the questions. Give me some comments in there. If you have more points or aspects about the episode that you liked that didn't quite match mine, let me know. Again, head to blackmirrorpodcast.com. Make that the Black Mirror podcast hub for everything Black Mirror related. Because the more you do, the more you'll have, and it'll just be awesome. It will be. And of course, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, or suggestions, of course, you can fill out that message me portion of the page down there towards the bottom of the homepage, or you can just email me, hoho@blackmirrorpodcast.com. So that is all I have for you today, and I had to put all that in there because I haven't done a new outro yet to put the new and relevant information in there, update it yet. I haven't done it. I'll get to it. I will. And hopefully this weekend, I will be finished with the discussion boards for season 3. I have completed season 1 and 2. So those are in the bag. I've still got the rest of them to do. And then season 6 when I get there. So there you go. That's all I have for you today. You always have yourself a good one. And I will see you in the next one. Thank you for listening to the Black Mirror Podcast. If you would like to join the conversation, you can comment on this episode at Spreaker.com or go to thehohoshow.com/forum in the discussion board for this season.